would like to take you to this place. It's The Hague. And up there used to be my room, up there. I used to play in this street. This is my street in The Hague. As you can see, it's a typical Dutch woonerf, which is an invention, I believe. Dutch is a place where you can drive only 30. It's very safe. You're warned as a driver in a car that kids play in this street. And as you can see, it's designed that way that there's parking, there's green, there's a place to park your bike, there's a big, good sidewalk, and the cars are moved like that they actually cannot go very quick. And in the middle there, we used to always play football. And every once in a while, for a few months, we would have a street party in which the neighbors would meet and we would sweep our whole street. It's called a street sweep party. And we would meet and we would chat, and then it always would end up in a little party. So we knew our neighbors, and we were proud to be part of that little street. So my mom could afford to live in that house because she had a rent subsidy as a single mom with 3 kids and a freelance job. Life in the Netherlands was a cookie, I would say. And I recall that we always had orthopedic shoes, we went to private schools, went to music classes, dancing classes, sports. We were basically supported in a way that we could use our full potential and learn and grow in society. So to take you from this image, but of course there was always something missing in our lives. And my brother missed the newest Nike Air Maxes. That was not something we had money for. And for me, it was important to be able to travel. I was always, from 14 years old, I was working in an ice cream parlor, and I was making money to save for my first travels. When I was 16, I was allowed to travel alone, and of course, first stop was Prague. I really was kind of interested in this whole eastern part of Europe thing. So by the time that I was actually ready to study abroad, I was studying cultural sciences in Amsterdam, and I was studying photography in The Hague. And one of my jobs was to photograph for the municipality of The Hague the parts of town that they wanted to redevelop and repurpose. So I was making photographs and documenting streets and squares and neighborhoods that I knew that a redevelopment was coming afterwards. So my photographs were actually part of a research of change. And I found this very exciting. But on the other hand, the photographs were not that exciting. I mean, I had the feeling that I was photographing a beautiful catalog, beautiful street and beautiful street furniture. And so I was really deeply missing some excitement in my life. And so came the chance to move to Slovakia. And I grasped it with both my hands. And in 2005, Slovakia, it was perfect timing, was a new European member. And I was a woman on mission. And my mission was to photograph change. Well, how do you photograph change? I tried photographing countryside. I had the feeling that the countryside, that will be very, very exciting. But then I actually came back to this, and I was living in Bratislava, and I came back to the fact that maybe I should photograph my direct environment, as in also the limitations that were put upon me, but also on other citizens. And I photographed the city, and I photographed the places where I biked every day to school, feeling that it was kind of dangerous to bike here. It was a big disappointment for me, of course, as a Dutch person. And I photographed all sorts of reconstruction sites and rebuilding sites and new shopping centers that were popping up at this time between 2005 and 2007, mostly. And also, there was also this other thing, that was that it was difficult to get groceries here. I mean, it was difficult to get good groceries here at a time that was kind of convenient. I had the feeling that it was like a hunt. We had to hunt for it, where to find it. It was like hidden, very unofficial ways. And of course, I was happy as could be, because all of a sudden the pavements were not boring. It was concrete platforms or streets formed by, we call this elephant trails in Dutch. It's basically a street is formed because people go on the grass and they go there all the time because it's the easiest and the best way. And I was very happy as a photographer in this kind of romantic way. And I remember that even for local newspapers, I would tell these stories about it, how exciting I was about the way that public space was used by people in a different way, and how you could see how individual uses this public space was taken up. But slowly I came to see that there was so much about, and I because I was working on a book, I published 2 books about public space, about Bratislava and about Košice. And I found that even though there was a lot of optimism, 2007, 2006, 2008, there was also this fear, because there was this fear on who is taking up this public space and with what motivation. One of the things, of course, was cars. A humongous amount of cars for a city that was not built for it, and the only regulation that made it possible was to park your car on the sidewalk. Literally, until the day of today, there's a law that you can park your car on the sidewalk as long as you leave 1.5 meters, which, of course, that creates huge chaos in a way. And also, the people fearing for old buildings, old industrial buildings, or any old buildings disappearing for new development. And of course, who was taking up public space, it was a lot of advertisement. So what the good thing was is that in 2008, there was starting a debate about this, a public debate on how is it possible that this huge advertisement is on the front of the Slovak National Gallery. And what happened was that there were activists, there were people, there were architects that were saying, no, this is public domain. And at that time, I could see, and I was also part of this movement where this was debated. And here, one of my favorites, it's a new kind of advertisement, activism in public space, an advertisement for somebody who says, I'm going to sweep all the streets of this neighborhood, vote for me. I thought it was very cute. And in 2008, Valosadovsky architects, they started the city interventions program, in which they asked about 20 architects and designers to give new ideas for the city. There was a bike kitchen who learned people how to bike and who went lobbying for bike trails. There in 2011, this all started in 2011, people who are cleaning up the streets voluntarily 3 times a day, people who are fighting for not selling public assets to private developers, community gardens. And our idea was to have a small public market in the street. So what we did in 2011 is we cleaned up a street of cars and we had a little market there. And the market was with local producers, local farmers, international crowd as well. And after the first street market, it actually became a huge success. And now we are a market that is very well established with 20,000 visitors 3 times a year and supporting 160 local vendors. So people know now where to get their good groceries. And everybody is involved, the mayor is involved, all levels of politics are involved in what we do, and we cooperate very well with local authorities. So this is the old market hall. It was one of the projects that we were asked to join a expert group. Somebody invited us to join an expert group to create a new model of functioning of this old market hall. It was in 2013, it was the first time that so publicly by experts was created a new model of functioning in which the city still owns the building, has the right to the building, is in the board of the building, but we offer them that we will reconstruct the building every month for 10,000 euros. So we put the money not as rent for the city, but we invest it in the building. And we promise we will reprogram it as a cultural event, and we will reprogram it as a marketplace. So this is the latest reconstruction of the summer, and already for 3 years we're organizing conferences and concerts, very popular, and of course our Saturday market. So now everybody knows where to get their local goods and very good produce for 80 vendors every week, which is very has a huge impact for every Saturday. And we have the best apples, I have to say. So if I look back, then I think that the biggest change might not be in the it might not be in the world that I can photograph and I can make a picture of. It's not in the streets that visible, but I think it is really a lot of knowledge transfer has been made to people. And people have gotten involved, and they have gotten involved in all different structures. They have, from debating, they have gone to organizing, they have come to professionalizing in 2016, where we stand now. And the network of active citizens in Bratislava at the moment looks like this, which is pretty impressive. And on all levels. I mean, there's people who will candidate for mayor, who will candidate in all the local bodies here. What I want to say, maybe there's not yet a conceptual, real tool for change, but the people have changed and they have grown, and it's a huge potential. Maybe you're asking if I still photograph. I do. First of all, but it's become a little bit more difficult, because to be a photographer and to document means you have to stand by the sidelines. And I'm not standing by the sidelines anymore. I have decided to live my life in Slovakia. My kids are Slovak. And I'm committed to this place, together with all these people that I've introduced to you. And it's a great recipe to be, actually for happiness, to be involved in such a change, I have to say. The only thing, the downside is that I have to say I'm a little bit ashamed, but I've become a really big fan of beautiful street furniture, functional, beautiful design, and boring streets. But I believe you'll forgive me for that.